Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our weekly Sunday school lesson. I am Elder Latanya Milliken of the All Nations Church in Oakland, California. My pastor is Bishop Terrence L. Milliken. His wife is Lady Regina Blake Milliken, and this is our weekly lesson, lesson 7 of our adult Sunday school class. So happy you're here to join us. The date of this lesson is October the 17th, 2021. We're highlighting the book of Numbers, the 12th chapter, the 1st through the 6th verse. And our subject today, Miriam and Aaron oppose Moses. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to number 3. Number 3 is Felita. So it's Paquita Latanya Felita. She's number 3. It's her. We celebrated her birthday this week. And I want to say happy birthday to Skeeta. My dad would call her Skeeta. Hope you had a wonderful, wonderful birthday this week. And I know you're having a wonderful time this weekend celebrating. Wish I was there, but I'll catch up with you later. So let's get to our lesson. We are again in lesson 7, and so just a look back, a real quick look back of what we've been covering this quarter. We've seen, We've seen Aaron's sons die because they offered the wrong sacrifice. We witnessed a man being stoned. He was one of the Egyptians that came on the journey with the Israelites to the promised land. He was stoned for blaspheming God's name. We studied and discussed the children of Israel, 2 parts, in complaining and how detrimental and dangerous complaining can be, and then how God has handled each one of these cases. And so this week's lesson, we focus on complaining, but not complaining from the Israelites or from Moses, but from 2 people, and that's Mariam, which is Moses' older sister, and his brothers. And so, and thinking about all of these scenarios, what are your thoughts so far on how God is handling this? And what are your thoughts on human nature, right? Like, we are learning all of these behaviors that the children of Israel and non-children of Israel, but those that are included, have been behaving. What are your thoughts on that? I want to ask you to leave your comments. I want to thank, though, those of you who have left comments, especially my sister Paquita. Thank you, number 1, for always encouraging me and leaving comments. I appreciate you. You have been consistent through this journey. Thank you. But to Darnetta and to Whitney and Marjorie and Romana, thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. I welcome more comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you get out of the lesson, some key points. I really appreciate you recognizing the highlights that I bring out. Thank you so much. So let's get to our lesson and see what we learned today about Mariam and Aaron. And so we're going to do a little reading. If you have your Bibles, I'm going to read to you from the way. We are in Numbers, the 12th chapter, the first, actually through the 16th verse. I said the 6th verse earlier, but I meant the 16th verse. So let's read real quickly. While they were in Hazeroth, Mariam and Aaron criticized Moses because they had married a Cushite woman. Okay, so let's stop right here. Cushite. Okay, so a Cushite woman was a woman from Cush, or Ethiopia, if you will. And so there's quite a bit of speculation around who this particular woman was. Originally, the scripture lets us know that Moses was married to Zipporah. Zipporah was the daughter of Jethro, and Jethro could have been Ethiopian and migrated to Midian. He was a high priest there. That's a possibility. Or there's a possibility, and I've read a few of the commentaries to kind of determine who this woman was. but the speculation is she might have been a second wife, because at this particular time in the lesson, Moses was 81 years old and Zipporah could have died and he could have remarried. So it could either be the second wife or it could have been Zipporah. But anyway, for the benefit of the lesson, she was Cush. She was dark skinned. Cush again, and more information on Cush. Cush was the son of Ham. Ham was the son of Noah. So you have Noah, you have Ham, and you have Cush, and this was a nation of people. And when you research and go to the table of nations, and Cush was the brother of Canaan, and so this was the land that they were going. The people and the land of Canaan where the Canaanites lived. And so again, Ethiopian, dark skinned ladies, what you think about that? What you think about Mariam having an issue and criticizing her brother for marrying, let's just keep it 100, a black woman? Give me your thoughts. But anyway, that was not the underlining or the real issue here. There was something deeper. They were just criticizing him for that, but there was something deeper that Mariam was feeling. Just like in the children of Israel, they were complaining about the manna, but there was something deeper. They were committing the sin of lust, and they were ungrateful. And so here in our lesson, we're going to learn some things about what's happening. So I'm going to continue to read. And as I read, I'm going to stop and kind of give you some details. So we'll pick up verse 2. They said, and this is Mariam leading the pack, because Mariam is has really is leading this argument, and Aaron is just following along. And so why do you say that? Because Aaron was not really a leader; he was a follower. In the book of Exodus, when the children of Israel were camped at the foot of Mount Sinai, and Moses had been gone for a while, and the people were riled up, and they ran to Aaron because Moses had left Aaron in charge, and they said, make us a calf so we can make that our God, because we don't know where Moses is. And so instead of Aaron standing up, he followed the crowd. So we see Aaron as one that follows the crowd. So in this particular story, Aaron is following his sister's lead when criticizing Moses. And so here's what was said in verse 2. Has the Lord spoken only through Moses? Hasn't he spoken through us too? But the Lord heard them. Verse 3. Now Moses was very humble, more humble than any other person on earth. So I'm going to pause real quickly. So Miriam and Aaron was criticizing Moses, but they were trying to make him look like he was this person who was guilty of pride and that he was better than everyone else. And that was not the case. The Lord was saying that he was humble and not prideful. And so the Lord heard this accusation, and immediately he responded. And so we're going to see what happened. Let's keep going. Now Moses was very humble, more humble than any person on earth. Now, I'm going to pause again. I'm sorry, I keep pausing. So when you think about humble in this case, quite a few of the Hebrew terms had multiple definitions. They would use a word depending on the situation. And so in this particular situation, humble means afflicted, sort of depressed, if you will. The actual Hebrew word is anah, A-N-A-H. And let me just see in my notes where I wrote that. And so anah, choo-choo-choo. You know, I hate when I can't find my notes. But we'll come back to that. We'll come back to what that is, because every second counts on this video as I keep trying to find it. I know I wrote it down. Okay, anyway, so it means afflicted. And so basically what is happening is here that Moses had this huge responsibility. It was a burden. Mind you, he had to deal with all the people in our last week's lesson complaining. He got overwhelmed, well, actually 2 lessons ago. And so all of this on his shoulders afflicted him. And at that particular time, the Lord is saying he was the most afflicted person on the face of the earth. And so the accusation that Miriam and Aaron was implying was erroneous. And so let's read on. So immediately the Lord, in verse 4, called to Moses, Aaron, and Mariam and said, "Go out to the tabernacle, all 3 of you." So the 3 of them went to the tabernacle. Then the Lord descended in a pillar of cloud and stood at the tabernacle, at the entrance of the tabernacle. Aaron and Miriam he called, and they stepped forward. And the Lord said unto them, "Now listen to what I have to say." And so in this next passage, the Lord helps us to understand how he speaks to prophets. He says, "If there were prophets among you, I, the Lord, will reveal myself in visions." So when God speaks to the prophet and the prophet speaks to the king or speaks to the people, they typically get visions. All right. Or I will speak to them in dreams. But not my servant Moses. Of all my house, he is the one I trust. I speak to him face to face, clearly, and not in riddles. He sees the Lord as he is. And so I'm going to pause right there. So what is the Lord saying here? Because when Moses was on Mount Sinai, interacting with the Lord for the 40 days, he asked the Lord, "Let me see you. I want to see you." And so the Lord told him, "Humans cannot see me. If they see me, they will die." He says, "But I will cover you and you can see my backside." And so no one else had witnessed that or seen that. So he saw an image of God. And so what the Lord is saying is that Moses had the privilege of seeing me, seeing the image of me, and I speak to him. I speak to him like no one else. And so this is sort of like an analogy this is what the Lord is saying. He's saying that Moses sort of seen my image as much as any human could see. He has been allowed to see me, and I speak to him intimately. We have an intimate relationship, and I speak to him, and it's not in a riddle form or a form he can't understand. I speak to him where he understands. And so he goes on to say at the end of verse 8, so if you understood this about Moses, because the Lord knew they understood Moses's role. He knew that because the Lord had showed the children of Israel and given proof that he had selected Moses. He said, if you knew all this, then why would you not be afraid to criticize him? And so in this conversation, Aaron is starting to realize he's made this mistake. And they're starting to realize that Moses is a humble person. He does have a lot on him. He has been called by the Lord. The Lord has anointed him. He is the leader. And so when the Lord leaves, he leaves judgment. And so as he leaves in the cloud, Mariam, the instigator, the leader, is struck with leprosy. Her skin turns white. She doesn't know it right away, but when her brother Aaron turns to look at her, he sees that her skin is pale white, and he understands that she now has leprosy. And so immediately Aaron apologizes and begs the pardon of Moses and say, you know what, I'm sorry, we were foolish, we were stupid, but please pray to God and ask God to forgive us and to heal Mariam. And so Moses goes to God and asks God to heal her, and let's see what God has to say. And I will pick up at the 13th verse. So Moses cried out to the Lord, "Oh God, I beg you, please heal her." But the Lord said to Moses, "If her father had done nothing more than spit in her face, wouldn't she be defiled for 7 days?" So I'll stop right there and I'll explain that to you. So this was a custom. So when a parent had dealt with a disobedient or disrespectful child, and spit in their face, then they would have to be let's see, what is it? Yeah, they would have to be banished for 7 days out of the father's presence. And so this is what the Lord is saying, that Mariam has discussed me and I want her out of my presence for 7 days. And so Mariam was put out of the camp for 7 days and so they didn't leave. They waited for her before they moved on, because they were in transition to the next place where they were camping. And so, what are your thoughts on this lesson? What is the real deep issue here? Mariam thought Moses was getting too much attention, and it was just jealousy. Don't God speak to us just like he speaks to you? Yeah. And then tried to make him look like he was prideful. And so let's just see what the actual focus of this lesson is, and the aim, the facts, and the principle as we wrap this up. The fact of the lesson is to learn to see God's faithfulness in the face of pettiness and betrayal, even close friends and family. The principle of the lesson is to affirm that each of our roles in God's plan is determined by God alone. God picks whom he wants to lead. And in every role he picks. Some of us can sing, some of us can't. Some can teach, some can't. Some can preach, some can't. Some people are good at leadership. Some people are not. Some can administrate, some cannot. God picks whom he wants to do what he wants, because he puts in each of us the ability to carry out our purpose in life. The application is to acquire the focus and determination to not be distracted from seeing God's faithfulness by ungodly acts of those around us. And so we see so much ungodly stuff around us. But even in the ungodly acts we see, God is still faithful. Thank God for grace and mercy, because all of us make mistakes. We all probably talk about our leaders, our boss, our parents. We've all made mistakes. We've all sinned in that way. So thank God for his mercy. Thank God for his grace. Thank God we can fall on our knees and say we're sorry and don't do it again. But God is in control. God is in control. He determines who's in leadership, and we must be respectful of his choices. And so next week, actually, let's just do the conclusion. God graciously saw his faithful servant Moses through an opposition of his sister and brother, but he was also merciful toward Miriam and Aaron. His rebuke and restraint judgment were acts of loving concern for them. Lastly, next week, God proved his faithfulness to his people over and over again, despite repeated episodes of rebellions that we've learned about. and unbelief. Next week, we will see in Numbers 13 that as Israel approached the promised land, the people again challenged God's patience with their faithless attitude. Until next week, I welcome your comments. Share the Sunday school lesson, and we'll join next week. God bless you. Bye-bye.